To some scholars, a roller coaster represents one of the most familiar yet serious problems of the American economy, the so-called business cycle. It shows up in everything from real estate construction to microchip manufacturing, all the industries that go through cycles of boom and bust. Add these industries together, and you've got your typical free market economy as a whole, which seems to go through a business cycle of its own, a period of better than usual economic expansion, followed by a period of contraction known as recession, or if the contraction gets really bad, depression.
The purpose of this game is to give you a feeling.
We're at MIT's Sloan Business School, where Professor John Sterman is about to subject his students and me to an example of how markets tend to go through cycles in something he calls the beer game.
So what we've done is created this simulated beer company, which you will manage over the next hour and a half.
To experience firsthand the cycles in the beer game, I've joined one team competing against half a dozen others at different tables, 8 people per team. My team will win the game if we produce just the right amount of beer. If that is, we don't make too much or too little.
The customer demand is on these decks of cards. So you're looking at the future here.
Every team will be responding to the same exact retail orders for beer. If we don't overreact, we can win a few bucks as well.
And I've gotten this cleared with the State Gambling Commission. I need everyone to chip up $1, each person.
We're playing for real money, but in the game, the pennies on the table represent beer. Each penny, a case of the stuff.
You'll be filling orders by moving the pennies downstream. Each penny represents 1 case of beer.
To follow closely, here's the game board for each team. The retailer sits on the left and gets 1 order each week.
Retailers take the top card.
Written on a yellow piece of paper.
Next step, fill orders.
Fill our orders.
Fill your orders.
The retailer then decides how much to order from the wholesaler to the right.
You can order 0, you can order 1,000,000. It's up to you now.
And jots it down on a white note. The wholesaler then writes down its order to the distributor, who scribbles an order to the factory. The smaller squares separating the different stages of the process each represent a week, since time is passing as the orders go down the line. Finally, when orders get to the factory, it begins to make cases of beer, the pennies, which are sent back to the left towards the retailer.
Receive inventory, advanced shipping delays.
This is the 4th week. So we have 4, and it was just 4s rolling around
So
here.
now we got 16 inventory.
At this point, I was about as baffled as you may be.
Fill your order.
Okay,
Fill our orders. What's it's a 4. That's another 4.
But I was beginning to get the drift. In the game, as in real life, the problem would be to exactly match the beer with the orders. We'd lose points for carrying too much inventory at any stage of the process, because in real life, carrying inventory costs money. But if we ran out of beer, we would also be penalized, since in real life, our customers would have gone elsewhere. My partner Carl and I were the distributor, getting orders from the wholesaler to my right.
Yeah, I think we should order 2 this time.
Order slips and breweries.
Only 2.
Only 2.
And what's the reasoning here?
Well, because the trend in the orders seems to be going up. We have 6 now, and we had 4 last time. We want to make sure we don't stock out.
Fill your incoming orders.
The strategy's working because we're at a steady state here, right?
Right. We're trying to keep a steady state in inventory as low as possible.
Okay, great.
In other words, we sense the danger that we might get taken for a ride. A roller coaster ride through which so many real-life industries cycle, for example, real estate. Coincidentally, this seaside condo complex was built on the site of an old roller coaster. Before ground was even broken, would-be buyers wanted in.
So the phone would ring, and eventually we sat down. Within days, we sat in our offices and said, okay, how are we going to handle this? Well, we'll tell everybody if they're interested to send in a $5,000 check with their name. We'll give them a number and put them on the list. The next thing we knew, within literally days and weeks, we had over 150 $5,000 checks sitting on the desk for units here at this particular project.
Demand for new housing with a view seemed unlimited. Other developers jumped in, and a boom was born.
I bought another 5 at 7/8.
But it's not just industries that go through this phenomenon. Countries go through it with great regularity. Take the U.S. boom of the 1990s. The economy grew like mad, and almost everyone, it sometimes seemed, was making money on the stock market, including this cab driver. So you can make your trades here.
Exactly.
I see. So you stay on top of the market there, and then you make your trades here.
Exactly.
In the 1980s, the biggest boom was in Japan. Japan as #1 was a bestseller. Japanese firms like Sony were expanding worldwide.
How are you?
From Alabama, Mr. Morito. We are so proud to have you, Mrs. Morito.
And in Tokyo, the value of property soared. Even the humblest apartment owner had become a multi-millionaire.
This is a typical apartment house in the neighborhood, and you can see it's just a plain 3-bedroom apartment house, and it costs $6 million.
But you have to go back to the roaring 20s in America for perhaps the most dangerous boom of them all. The champagne never stopped flowing, the economy was kicking up a storm, the stock market seemed to defy gravity itself.
Advance the order
Back at the
slips.
beer game, things were also heating up. The actual customer orders are on those yellow cards. From what we're seeing, it looks like those customers are suddenly on a bender. Orders to us just quadrupled, and we don't have anything left in inventory.
Now it's week 11.
Now it's week 11. We don't have anything coming in, and we're going to get a demand from her, and we're going to stock out.
Oh my God. It was 18. We have nothing coming.
We have 0 coming in.
Fill the order. Here comes the order. 12.
12.
Oh my God.
Okay.
So now, to meet the surge in demand, we start ordering like crazy from the factory. But there's a lag of several weeks as they gear up to brew in greater volume. Meanwhile, we can't fill our orders. The backlog is mounting and costing us money.
Backlog 20. We have a backlog of 40.
0. What are we going to order?
Order 20.
20. All right. So we ordered 20.
We're desperate, ordering 20 cases week after week. There seems to be a boom in demand and we can't keep up with it. And immersed as we are, we've forgotten all about the possibility of a bust. On our roller coaster ride in the beer game, we had reached a peak in demand and we're now heading down. And that's exactly what happened to real estate developer Paul Quinn as orders dried up for his product.
It was a slow sinking feeling, and it was a horrible feeling. There were millions invested.
But the market was paralyzed. The condos remained empty. And the same thing happened to the U.S. economy after the boom of the 1990s. In places like California's Silicon Valley, the huge investment in internet firms turned out to be overinvestment. And again, you could see it in vacant real estate. That Tokyo apartment of the 1980s lost some $4 million in value in the years after, and the stock market boom of the 1920s was followed by the crash of '29 and the Great Depression of the 1930s, when unemployment hit 25%. Meanwhile, back at the beer game,
Right now, we've got at least 50 units coming in. The last couple of demands have been 6 or 8. We're going to have excess inventory. We shouldn't order any right now.
Why?
now we've suddenly got too much inventory. The customers are no longer on a bender, they're suddenly on the wagon, and Carl and I are on the roller coaster as the game mercifully comes to an end.
And record your inventory. Record your inventory for week 33. Some of you may need a calculator at this point.
I'm relieved to report that our company hasn't completely fizzled out, though at game's end, our keg runneth over.
Basically, we ordered too much when we were backlogged, and now we have too much sitting in inventory.
Yeah, I'll say. We have 70. All right.
In a debriefing session, Sturman showed us the graphs we had drawn of how consumer demand had, we thought, shot up and crashed.
Under you. Orders at the customer end started out at 4, rose up with some pattern that fluctuated, but rose up to about 20 and then collapsed.
Every team drew the same graph. We all blamed unpredictable demand and the professor who'd rigged it.
Everyone here is telling me that it was my fault, not your fault, that we experienced these fluctuations. The customers fluctuated. We just reacted to that. What's actually going on?
During the game, only students in the role of retailer saw the customer's initial demand, as written by Professor Sturman on those yellow cards. At last, Sturman's secret would be revealed.
Well, I'm embarrassed to say, really, now that it was after it started at 4 for the few rounds that we did. it hopped up to 8 and then stayed there for the whole time.
Right. It was 4 for the first 4 weeks. In week 5, customer orders jumped up to 8, and it was 8, 8, 8, 8.
Yes, there was a rise in demand, but, and here's the moral of the story, we had created the cycle by overreacting every step of the way. Even the level-headed Keystone team overreacted, but less dramatically than the rest of us, and that's why Keystone won the game and the bankroll the class had wagered.
Who's the Keystone treasurer? Okay, there you go.
$68 is a meager return on the high-cost investment of attending MIT, but there was a priceless lesson here about the business cycle.
It's not dead, and in the past, every time it's been reported as dead, it's resurfaced with a vengeance. For 200 years, the entire industrial era, business cycles have continued. They're not perfectly regular. We're not in a pendulum clock, but there's no reason to think that the business cycle has gone away.